Alright, the only tools you're going to need to change the alternator in your 2009 Toyota Corolla are 10mm, 12mm, and 14mm sockets or wrenches. A Phillips head and a flathead screwdriver are also something that could come in handy, especially when you're taking your battery off. So that's pretty much all you're going to need to change your alternator in your 2009 Toyota Corolla. What we do is we remove this cover. Just a brisk pull will do it. There's 4 prongs that keep it on there. You can see on the other side of this, they're just rubber. So you just pull that right off, set that aside. Right, once you've removed the cover and unplugged the battery, the next step is to remove these. This is just a squeeze clamp, just should come right off. And this one is a cover. Unscrew that. It uses a 10mm socket.
Oh.
And once that is loosened, you should be able to just undo it by hand. That'll come right off. I like to put the bolts back on anything I take off, just in case. Once these are both removed, there's a quick release right here on this thing. Typically you get it with your finger, like this little lever. Just push that thing will slide right off, and you can set this whole thing to the side. The next thing you'll do is you'll loosen this. You can probably see the bolt right here. You'll loosen. These both take 12mm sockets. Very easy to remove typically. So we'll go ahead and start that. Once the bolt's removed from here, you should be able to just move the alternator to the back of the car or forward in your position and remove this belt. It's important to take note of the way the belt is wound in here so that when you're putting it back together you do not forget. A bolt that you'll find is beneficial to remove is this one right here. This goes to the adjustment or the tightener, the tensioner arm for your alternator. If you remove that and lift that up out of the way, it'll make removing this alternator a bit easier. Next, we're going to go ahead, and if you can see down here, there's a bolt down there that's 14mm, and that should be the final bolt that holds this alternator on. So you can see it's a fairly easy replacement. I prefer to use a deep socket down there so that this pulley doesn't get in the way. So let's go ahead and remove that. Alright, with the alternator tensioner removed, should be fairly easy just to go ahead and reach in and pull that thing out of there. Alright, with a little bit of wiggling, I got her off, and we'll just pull it right on out of here. Right, so here's the alternator removed. As you can see, there's a couple of parts on there that you might want to remove. You're probably going to want to take these bolts off for the new alternator, and then possibly this. I don't think the new alternator comes with that, but we'll see here in a second when I get mine and unwrap it. But as you can see, there's only a few bolts here that hold this puppy on, and the Toyota dealership wanted to charge me $869 to replace this. So it's definitely not worth that much money when you can grab a couple of these and do it in about an hour. Right, here's the new alternator. It was rebuilt in China, unfortunately, but I guess that's the way it goes nowadays. Everything looks good on it. I replaced this because that didn't come with the new alternator. So make sure you take the parts off all your old alternator before you turn it in for the core charge. And everything else is good to go. So we're going to go ahead and stick this guy in here. And it should be a fairly easy process, just reversed from what you did to take it apart. So we got the alternator put back in. I hand tightened the bolts down there at the very bottom. I reinstalled the tensioner arm here, and I placed the bolt into the top of the alternator. Now I haven't tightened anything down specifically because first, before we tighten everything down, we want to get our belt tension right. So make sure this is tight, but these two bolts on the top and bottom of the alternator are going to need to be tightened afterward. Once the belt has been tightened, you'll go ahead and tighten the top bolt down here. You want a little bit of play in it, but not much. and the bottom bolt down. And you want those pretty snug. I don't know the torque specifications. However, you want to make sure that they're not going to vibrate off when you're driving. Okay, now everything is fully installed. All the bolts are tightened down. And now we just got to throw the cover on here. And we've got a pretty much complete job. I like to make sure everything's cleaned off before I stick it back on. But this guy will go right on here. We'll reconnect the battery and start her up. Alright, there's the brand new alternator installed. The horrible sound from the pulley is no longer occurring, and it seems like it's running smooth as butter. Thanks for joining. Hope it helped you guys out and maybe saved you $800.